this previous video, we have seen the Indian Council Act 1909 and Morley-Minto Reforms, where we have seen the introduction, and we have seen the causes responsible for the passing of the Act of 1909. And yesterday, last factor which we have covered was the influence of the foreign events, where we have seen that victory of Japan over Russia in 1905 was a very dominant effect, and it gave the Indians back the confidence to get freedom from the careless British master. So today we are starting with the humiliation of Indians abroad. So basically, the peoples of India faced humiliating treatment in the South Africa, England, and Canada, and it had its repercussion on the Indian national movement. So basically, the mistreatment or humiliating treatment the Indian peoples were receiving showed its effects on the Indian national movements. People they started more identifying themselves as the Indians, even living in the abroad, and they wanted the freedoms from this foreign rule. So Indians living in Africa were subjected to many intolerable discriminations, and they were not allowed to build houses on the places specified for Europeans, and even education of their children was not allowed in their good schools. So even educations were not allowed. So you can imagine how it was difficult to be there. So Indians were denied admission in some of the hotels, clubs, and hospitals events. So in the top hospitals, they were mistreated, and even they were not allowed to get treatments. They were also not allowed to travel by the first class in train. Even they were not allowed to travel in the first class, and nor could walk on the footpaths. So you can see that extreme discriminations were going with the Indians in the abroad. So in Natal and Transvaal, the Indians had to submit to the humiliating inspiration of the poll tax. So we will later see that what was the poll tax, and basically for the hint, it was in applied in the Transvaal. So basically, Natal and Transvaal was the part of this South Africa, become the part of the South Africa, and Transvaal was rich in the basically gold, I think, or gold or diamond mining. So basically, we will see it later. We will discuss this poll tax, Natal and Transvaal, and poll and sorry. So by the Asiatic Registration Act of 1909, the Indians in the Transvaals were required to be registered by the fingerprints like criminals. So basically, they were very mistreated. They created these type of things created a lot of resentments among the Indians, and a strong feeling to end foreign rule from India rapidly spread in the country. So basically, even the peoples living in the abroad started supporting the Indian national movement. So they started wanting the freedoms, and so the Indian national movement get united. We later see its effects that due to this step, you can say that in the coming together of the abroad Indians, the INC, which was divided into two parts as modern extremists, they got united. So number sixth factor for the passing of the act of this responsible for the passing of the act of 1909 is the propaganda by the extremists. We have seen, as I have told you right now, the Congress party was divided into two, as modern and I think modern, yes, modern, yeah, moderate, I think it was moderate. So moderate and extremist. So basically, the dissatisfaction among the Indians gave birth to the left wings in the Congress party, and Surat session of the Congress held in 1909-7, the Congress party got divided into two, moderate and extremist. Yes, it was moderate. So you can see the Congress party got divided into moderate and extremist, and it's become important to note that it was divided in the Surat session of 1909. So Bal Gangadhar Tilak, Lala Lajpat Rai, and Bipin Chandra. Bal Gangadhar Tilak, Lala Lajpat Rai, and Bipin Chandra, also known as in trio they were known as Bal, Pal, and Lal. He became the leader of the extremists. And various movements like home rule movements were spread by the Bal Gangadhar Tilak, which forced Britishers to bring the improvement of 1917 and 1919. So they were men of a strong character. So basically, main form the main you can say that the main a strong role of the leader was there of the Bal Gangadhar Tilak. His personality was like uh, without even speaking, and you can say without even writing. Basically, it was in the one of the British journalists. We describe British journalists accepted that Tilak contributed more his life by character than by speeches and writing to the making of new nationalisms. So basically, we'll see it later. This statement it's going to come. So they had basically they means here comes the Bal, Pal and Lal. So basically, Bal Gangadhar Tilak, Lala Lajpat Rai, and Bipin Chandra Pal. So basically, they had no faith in the British sense of justice, because till now they have just seen the brutality of the Britishers. They had innate hatred for the foreign government. And one thing also, we have seen that uh, British governor Lord Curzon, I think Lord Curzon had the same type of hatred with the Indians. So, and due to this, they got make the partition of the Bengals in spite of the various oppositions. So basically, Bal Gangadhar Tilak, Lala Lajpat Rai, and Bipin Chandra Pal didn't have even a smallest faith in the British government. They launched a crusade against the alien bureaucracy and released the forces which gave birth to the anti-imperialist movement. Anti-imperialist movement, you should remember it. So, and Bal Gangadhar Tilak was the real founder of the anti-imperialist movement. So, British journalist Which Roll described Tilak as the father of Indian unrest. And also, according to W.S. Blunt, so who was W.S. Blunt? English poet, writer, and politician writers. So Tilak contributed. He wrote that Tilak contributed more by his life and character than by speeches and writing to the making of a new nationalism. So basically, such a dominant person Tilak was that his even that his character make the Indians feels that they should ask for the freedoms and all. So basically, you can say that he had a he played a very influential role in bringing the Indians together and fighting against the Britishers. So basically, the reforms of 1909 were therefore offered as a bid for conciliation. So basically, we are right now we are seeing the why the Act of 1909 was passed. So it was passed like a bid for conciliation, means samjhauta, by the Britishers. They wanted to stop this type of nationalist movements. So number seventh factor was poor economic conditions, poor economic condition of India. So basically, as a result of the natural calamities, as we have seen during the 1897 and 1896 to 1898, thousands of the people died due to calamities and various diseases. And in the also even between the 1905 and 1909, a lot of death took place, and for which British government even got criticized by the other European countries. So these were the factors are responsible for the passing of the Act of 1909. We have seen this, and another thing was the poor economic condition of India. So as a result of natural calamities which visited India quite frequently, and the bad economic policies of the Britishers, basically what were economic places which were adopted by the Britishers was just for the benefit of the Britishers. They didn't even think of about the Indians. So due to this, the economic conditions of India became very bad. Earlier, once the country was known as the Golden Bird, the economic condition was got such poor that they were even peoples of Indians were became the man of the starving. They didn't even get capable of arranging food. So hunger and the unemployment was widespread. As the educated class, as we have seen that Britishers have opened various colleges and universities to teach Indians. So the Indians who became educated wanted jobs, and we did not get their frustration increased. Also, the essential commodities were beyond the reach of the common man. Essential commodities like food, cloth, uh, food, cloth, and salt. So they were beyond the reach of the common man's. Also, the British government was worried that the discontentment found among the people of the India may not take the forms as a revolt, because they had the example of 1857 revolt in their minds. So they didn't want it to this type of revolts to again take place. So therefore they decided to make reforms in the administration structure in India, and which was published as a act of 1909. Eighth factor was the freedom for the press and the propaganda. So basically, it was like freedom of the press. Earlier, as a result of the freedom of the press and propaganda in India, so many newspapers and magazines were printed through which was easy to make nationalist propaganda. So basically, this newspaper helps to develop nationalism propaganda. They also help Indians to spread their ideas and help Indians to get united, because they were at that time have the common suffering. So also the newspaper and other propaganda material enabled the people living in various parts of the India to exchange their ideas, and they felt that they were one and had common suffering. So it brought unity of the purpose among them. So basically, you must have some questions like the peoples at that time. Most of the peoples were not able to read, but how spirit ideas got. But as we have seen, some of the peoples in between were educated. They took education from the British University and the various universities which were opened by the Britishers only. So they some of the members who were able to read and write, means literate Indians, spreaded the messages written in the newspapers and the materials carrying the nationalist propaganda. So number nine region was the demand of the Muslim deputation, means Pratiniyukti. They wanted Muslim wanted their leaders to be represented in the legislative, and as we have seen that the Britishers had the policy of divide and rule, so they accepted the demands of the Muslims. But later on, this proved to be fatal for the Britishers when the Britishers were taking action against the Turkey, the Muslim country. So at that time, Muslims leaders joined a hand with the Indian leaders, and this helped that Indians nationalist movement to get a strength. So demand of Muslim deputation. Let's see, Mr. Arkbold, the principal of Aligarh College, got sent of the nature of reforms to be introduced in the near future. So basically you can say that वो भाव लिया था कि some changes आने वाला है futures में and positive changes. So he instigated the Muslim to send a petition to the viceroy and ask for weightage representation for the Muslim in legislative councils. So the Muslim deputation demanded that Muslims should be given representation in excess of their numerical strength. So we will see that even the representation of Muslim leaders were lesser, but they were given the more representation as compared to that of the other communities. We'll see it later. So they asked for that their numerical strength should be increased, and they should be given right to send their send their own representative through the separate communal representation. Means the Muslim community will itself vote and make the leaders to be stand for them. So also the Britishers who were already following the policy of as I have said you, the Britishers' main policy was the policy of divide and rule, and we have seen that in the beginning when the East India Company had come to India, the policy through which they gained control over the Indians was the divide and rule. So they led the various Indian rulers to fight with each others, and after that they after the divisions or after the wars, they started capturing the weaknesses or weak territory. So it was in their blood. So basically, this time they agreed to the demand of the Muslim because Lord Monto saw the opportunity to create a permanent wage. Wage means you can say building, darari you can say in Hindi. So they saw an opportunity to create a permanent wedge between Hindus and Muslims. And then number 10th reason was the terrorist activity and governmental repression. So basically, terrorist activity was basically the nationalist activity, but from the perspective of the Britishers, it was like the terrorist activity. So basically, the extremist leader and we know who were the extremist leader, Bal, Pal, and so basically main leaders were Bal, Pal, and Lal. So the extremist leader created an impression among the Indians that they would get nothing through constitutional means. In order to get political power, they need to use force. And as a result of this terrorist activities became the order of the day. Means these type of activities were taking place. So for now, let's stop here. In the next video, we will discuss with the Indian University Act of 1909, which we have seen before, and Official Secret Act of 1904. Also, we'll discuss about the natal transfer and poll tax. So thank you.